everybody was talking about the shocking emotion that we all felt, Chof Ches Nissan, Tafshin Nun Aleph, when the Rebbe spoke that extraordinary sikha that left us all with our mouths open and literally shaking. I remember exactly pacing up and down in the Beis Medrash of the yeshiva when we listened to it over the speaker as it came in. And it kind of left us at the end of the Farbrengen silently, Vayidei Marin. There was like nothing to say. How can we respond? Half the room said, we're going to write a letter to the Rebbe, we're not accepting this. You know, kind of a knee-jerk reaction. What do we say to that? What the Rebbe told us. Now, after a while, you start thinking about it and you hear the Rebbe Sikha and the words that the Rebbe said, was ich kann, ich habe schon alles getan, was ich darf tun, was ich kann tun. Jetzt lasse ich es, gebe ich es zu euch. And the words lehevel v'larik, the words that things were, God forbid, in such a level, it was stunning, shocking, and we were all in a state of shock, you might say. But there is another perspective of how we look at it. And then once you take a look at it from a fuller kind of overview and take a look at the entire sikha, because when you listen to the sikha, that part of the sikha is what grabs you and forces your attention. But the Rebbe began the first part of the sikha, in fact, most of the sikha was about the reality of finding ourselves presently in a state of Geula. He talked about the month and the day and the parsha and etc. and connecting it with all kinds of matters, even to the point of view of connecting it with Lechatchila Rebbe. That's how we ended up. Chof Ches Nissan. Lechatchila is a preparation for Chof Tes, for Yom Kippur Cotton, for preparation for the Shchaydish, preparation for Beis Ear, Lechatchila Rebbe. Everything has to be Lechatchila Rebbe. So the Rebbe is talking about redemption. He's talking about Moshiach. He's talking about Geula. He's talking about it in a clear way where we're all feeling very comfortable that we're in a state of redemption. It's happening right now. It's happening in this month, in this day, in this night. And suddenly we start to hear language that stuns us. We never heard language like that before. And besides which, it really touched us to the core, because we are used to being dependent on the Rebbe, which is the way a chassid is dependent, but the Rebbe also demands from us another level. And that's what I think the Rebbe was referring to at this point. In Yud Aleph, Tofshin Yud Aleph, at the beginning of the Nesias, the Rebbe used language like, I'm going to do it, but I will need you to be the force. I will be here to help you. I'll be here to do whatever I can, but I need you not to back off. This is not a one-man show. This is not a Rebbe doing everything for his chassidim and that's it. This is a Rebbe leading his chassidim. Like Moshe Rabbeinu, when he says that he is among the 600,000 Yidden, he has to be together with the 600,000 Yidden. He needs to have everybody come along with him in this process. What did the Rebbe mean to say, I did what I can, now I'm leaving it to you? Did it not only mean that you have to learn a little bit more about Moshiach? Of course, that's the fact. And of course, people were learning about Moshiach like never before. More people and more people. I think there was a whole different Nekuda here. The Nekuda here is when we were singing, watching the Rebbe by Keshel Bracha, we want Moshiach now. So the Eilim was singing, we want Moshiach with Akach, and they were singing, and all of a sudden the Rebbe turned around and made with his hand up and back, and the place exploded. What happened there? Why did it explode? Because we were with the Rebbe's energy at that moment. It was the Rebbe singing through our mouths. It was the Rebbe exploding about Moshiach. The Rebbe wants a different level of Moshiach from his chassidim. Yes, Everybody's having a lot of success. Chabad is today in a place that it's never been before, accepted as mainstream, as the most powerful organization in the world, touching more Jews than anybody else is touching. Everybody's got beautiful mesas. Mesas are being growing all over the world. People are joining Chabad from every sector like never before. Chabad is being accepted and being lauded for what it does. Even those naysayers are not naysaying anymore, and so forth. I just picked up a book from that was just published by a professor in Israel, Professor Bilu, that the name of the book, With Us Now More Than Ever Before. So this book talks about the Rebbe's presence from a sociological point of view, and he writes in his Akdama, this is not about being a chassid, this is purely from a sociological point of view, how the Rebbe's influence impacted people to think and act in a certain way and have a certain kind of a dynamic relationship. And from that perspective, the Rebbe wants us to have pnimius, chassidus mont pnimius. You got to really mean it. Not pshat, we want Moshiach singing, take a little mashkin, want Moshiach, and the Rebbe like his own. We're talking about in your daily activities. What do you feel? Do you have a yearning on a daily basis? How do we change that paradigm? How do we change our shift to really feel Moshiach and think about him, internalize it? Not just singing it once in a while, or the Fabrengen singing it once in a while, or having a sign singing it, or Chof Ches Nissan remembering the matter. But like the Rebbe, since when he spoke at that moment, and I've been thinking about it for all these years, because the voice of the Rebbe at that time still rings in my ears. And you think to yourself, the Rebbe, when he wrote the letter, that since he's been a child, he's dreaming about Moshiach. The Rebbe took Moshiach to a different level. The Rebbe to the Rebbe, Moshiach was very personal. It was his life. It was his mission. It was his whole objective. This was the seventh generation. This was the generation of Moshiach. And the way that he felt about Moshiach was the way that we feel about the Rebbe. That's how the Rebbe felt about Moshiach. He felt about that, about the Frierdiker Rebbe. He felt about Moshiach in that same way. We, even when we're talking about Moshiach and the Rebbe, Moshiach and so forth, but do we feel about Moshiach like we really yearn for Moshiach because we want a life of Moshiach? Of course we want Moshiach. When you have a problem, you want Moshiach for sure. But that internalized relationship with Moshiach, that need to have that connection, that's what the Rebbe was asking us to do. And that's why he said 10 people. What do you mean 10 people? They're going to do more than 10 people are going to accomplish it. 3 or 4 people are going to accomplish it. He said, I need other people to feel it the way I've felt it. Join me in the process. So how do you do that? How do you really feel about Moshiach that way? How do you take it to the level where it becomes personal, where it becomes individual, where it becomes as important to you as building your Mosid, as expanding your programs? It becomes as important to you as anything else you do. When the Rebbe said that this is the most important mitzvah, what did he mean by that? Did it mean to let other mitzvahs go? No, you got to put on film with Yidden, and you got to do Chassidus with Yidden, and you got to put mezuzahs on Yidden's doors, etc. But Moshiach has to be the underlying forceful aspect of what drives me. What drives us is Moshiach. What drove the Rebbe, what drives the Rebbe is Moshiach. That you on a daily basis. You know that story that everybody tells. The story it happened to be that when I was a Bach Yeshiva, it happened with me. This story, same story, that I was learning with this kid that lived in Crown Heights from a Misnagdisha family, and he went off the path a little bit. So his father came. His father was a salesman, and I used to learn Daf Yomi those years, etc., etc. A real Lithuanian Jew. And he came to 770 to see someone who could save his son. So I started learning with his son a little bit. His son started coming to Fabrengens. And the exact same thing that the people have that same question. They said so this father said to him, you got so turned on to Chabad. His father came to complain to me. He's becoming a chassid. He wants to now go to the Lubavitch, etc. He wants to learn chassidus. It's not our family style. I said, listen, you asked me to help you out with your son. That's what's happening. So he says to me that he asked his son that why do you keep going to the Rebbe? He went to it with his son to the Rebbe's Fabrengen. And he said, well, it was nice, but I go to the Shiva, I hear a pilpul and this. Over here, it's like different than what he's used to. So what do you see about him? He says, the Rebbe, he really wants Moshiach. So he says, all you Rosh Yeshivas, they end their drushes with, Moshiach should come, and in our times, etc. He says, but the Rebbe means it. That this kid who went off the path, Moshiach kid, saw that the Rebbe means it. The Rebbe said to us, mean it. Do it because you mean it, not because I said you got to do it, not because you got to scream, we want Moshiach now, but feel it in your heart and soul, we want Moshiach now. Make it personal. Make it something that grabs you, that you think about. You learn about Moshiach. Do we think about him? Do we meditate about it? What does it mean, Moshiach? You say, we want Moshiach to come. What does it mean, do we want Moshiach to come? So to most of us, and myself included, Moshiach come means we'll come to Fabringen again, and then Rebbe will say Sichas, and then Rebbe will say Maimorim, and they'll give a Keshel Bracha, that'll stop. What do you need Mashiach? So the Rebbe said clearly that Mashiach is not a Mashiach only for Yidden. Mashiach is a Mashiach to the world. The whole world has to recognize the union for Mashiach. He said it many times in the Sichas about that fact, that the whole world has to recognize that Mashiach is here. Not only the Yidden themselves. This is not a Jewish program. This is a program that we have to bring to the whole world. So the whole world, when they look at us, they have to look at a person that sees we are looking for a moment of redemption. We're looking for a time when the world will be balanced. We are not satisfied with the status quo of the world. The status quo is not the right way. We need to make a change, a vital, fundamental change in our whole thinking pattern in this matter. I think that's what the Rebbe asked of us. He didn't ask of us, of course, you have to have more shiurim, and of course, you have to have do everything more. But about this nekuda itself, this is what he was talking about, this nekuda, he said, we're in the day of redemption. We're in the month of redemption. We're in the parsha of redemption. We're in the day of the week of it. Everything that Rebbe stressed were all aspects of redemption. And it's lechatchila Rebbe. And he's not here yet. What does that mean? And we walked away from that Fabrengen. Nobody thought we want Moshiach now. Only what we thought about was, wow, what should we do now? What the Rebbe said. We didn't think about we have to change ourselves about Moshiach. That's what the Nekuda is. The Nekuda is, what did the Rebbe want from us? The Rebbe didn't want from us that we should feel badly about what he said. The Rebbe shocked us into our reality. He said, guys, I want you to know, if you're on the team, I want you to be on my team, do what I'm doing. And what I'm doing is not only learning about Moshiach, what I'm doing is living Moshiach, feeling Moshiach, bringing Moshiach into the practicality of my existence. And so Pasha Kipshute, on a daily basis, for a person to have a few moments a day, just like you think Chassidus, think about, what do I need Moshiach for? What kind of world will it be? Will I be able to have the same kind of vacation? Will I be able to relax a little bit? Will I be able to go out for dinner at night? It's going to be a different world. No more dinners at night. No more relaxation. It's going to be a different world. Do I want that world? In other words, am I looking for a spiritual world that's a Mashiach world? Today, we're living in a physical world. And of course, we're Chassidim and we're Shluchim and we're connected to the Rebbe. We do what the Rebbe wants. The Rebbe wants us to rise to another level. That's what he asked us to do. He asked us to rise to his level. That's Sheish Meis Elef Raglia Sheranechi Bekirbam. The Rebbe said, I want you to be together with me in this trip. I need you to yearn like I'm yearning. I need you to feel like I'm feeling. I don't want to have to turn you on to this feeling and remind you about Moshiach on a regular basis. If the Rebbe would stop talking about Moshiach, we would stop talking about Moshiach. Like happens many times, the Rebbe says, if you talk about it every year, various projects that Rebbe said, whether it's Mitzvah Purim or Mitzvah Pesach, he said he has to repeat it over and over again because till next year we forget about it again. The Rebbe puts it on the agenda. It's on the agenda. I'm glad that we're sitting here today, Chof Ches Nissan, because as you may know, it was publicized that Rebbe's Ha'ara in Tafshin Mem Aleph, about Tafshin Pei Aleph, and Af and the whole Indian from the Gematria and so forth, that the Eibishter is going to transform. It's going to be a big year. We're 40 years from Tafshin Mem Aleph, since the Rebbe said that and wrote that. We're 30 years from Tafshin Nun Aleph. We're moving towards the cliff. And it's time to make that massive change. I'm not talking to you with Fabrenga, I'm talking to myself as well here. Not to myself as well, I'm talking to myself primarily. I'm thinking to myself, what am I doing about Moshiach? What do I do to think about him? How do I bring him into my life? Am I serious about him? Do I think about him as much as I think about, again, about my new projects or whatever I'm doing, or my contacts, or I'm meeting with somebody? Do I'm thinking about him on a daily basis like I think about the most important thing in my life? Am I thinking about him like I'm thinking about my Moshiach every single day? Is that it? Is it part of my life that touches me to the core, like it touched the Rebbe to the core? It was the Rebbe's core was the Inyan of Moshiach. Everybody knows it. The Rebbe put Moshiach on the map again after 3,000 years. Totally put it on the map again in that way, from that perspective. So we say l'chaim, and the Mitzvah Hashem, the Eibusha should help us that we should be zeiche to move into that sphere, that we should feel like the Rebbe wants us to feel, that we should think about Moshiach. And when we think about Moshiach, it's inevitable that we think about the Rebbe, because, as I said to many people, and I'm just going to repeat it here just for a moment, you talk about Chof Ches Nissan and so forth, and identifying Moshiach and so forth. And, here we don't have to talk about identifying in that way. But when I talk to Fremde Yidden, people that are not into that role yet, and they think about how they can say that and so forth. So when we open up the Rambam, and I've told you the story of Mr. Rohr came to me one day that a friend of his said to him, how can you daven in a shul like this when they say that it was Mashiach, and it was after Gimel Tammuz, etc. So Mr. Rohr came to see me. So we sat down. I sat down with him and his friend, and we opened up the Rambam, and we learned the whole last few prakim of Hilchos Malachim. And when we finished the Hilchos Malachim, the last few prakim, I asked him again, I asked him one question. Do you know anybody that fits the role of Moshiach? Do you know anybody in our time that fits the role of Moshiach? No, we don't know. Would that ever fit the role of Moshiach? Start thinking for a minute, and they said, yeah, he could fit the role. So I said, forget about that. You're talking about a person who fits the role of Moshiach. What else do you want? Living in a generation of Moshiach, living in a generation with Moshiach, with a Rebbe that fits the role of Moshiach. So again, all we have to do, it's not all we have to do, but the thing that we have to do, from my perspective, from what I understand from the Rebbe, is that we have to internalize it. We have to look at Moshiach like Chabad Chassidim look at Moshiach, like Chassidus look at Moshiach, not something just minasofa l'chutz, not paka, but to really feel it, to really think it, to really emote it, to really bring it part of our lives. And in such a way, when we take it in the Pnimius, we'll also bring it into Chetzenius, and we'll be Zeicher Mitzvah Hashem, that the Rebbe's objective will be realized immediately, and we'll be together with the Rebbe, Mitzvah Hashem, and listen to Terech Hadashim Iti Teitzei, V'Agola Dedan Mamish. Chayim.